All right, on the show now is Jared Turcotte, who will be back in the NEF cage on November the 12th at NEF 50 when he takes on Region de Silva Jr. Jared, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing fantastic. And, as I told you before we went live here and started this interview, after I saw your debut, I was like, I got to get this guy on the show. I mean, very, very impressive. You went in there and made short work of Seth Godfrey, someone that looks pretty darn good in the NEF cage in his debut fight. So let's just start right there with, that whole experience, making your official MMA debut. Obviously, the result was fantastic. Put it into words for me.
It was a quite the experience. Like I was saying before we started the live interview here, it was something that I wasn't exactly sure what that experience was going to be. My only comparison to anything like that was football and going out there with 60 other guys in the same uniform and with the same goal is a little different than having it all be on your shoulder. So I wasn't exactly sure how my brain would react to the fact that it was just me out there, and how that anxiety would manifest itself. But I think we did a pretty good job. I mean, Seth was a good opponent. It's hard in that weight division to find people in the area. So I'm learning that that now after getting this second one on the books, that it wasn't an easy thing to do. So all props to Seth for getting in there, and a lot of respect goes out there to all the fighters that make that walk. And I got a newfound respect for the sport, having experienced it myself.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, so with Seth, there was a little bit of tape on him, right? Because he did have that one fight, previous to stepping in there with you. But with this opponent, De Silva Jr., he's making his debut. So that's, to me, I don't know, as an athlete, in your shoes, I would be a little bit more, I guess, on edge about stepping in there, because you could be facing someone like yourself, an absolute monster that's going to be stepping in the cage. Does that play into your mind at all when you're, accepting a fight at this point?
Not particularly at this point. I'm so new. So very, very green to martial arts in general, never mind MMA. So I think the way that we approach things, at least Jesse, for our team, for the newer guys, there's not really, he doesn't even tell us the name of the opponent. We find out when everybody else finds out, when NEF releases the bouts and stuff like that online. And I think that works for me. I could get in my own head pretty quick, pretty easy, and overanalyze and try to develop this mastermind game plan of what the fight's actually going to be like, and kind of get in my own way. So I like the fact that we approach it that way at this particular point. I'm not sure if it will change in the future, but I like that it's just focusing on what it is that I'm doing, show up to training and put in the effort and the time there, and let the chips kind of fall where they may. I think that develops kind of an impromptu attitude in the cage to be able to adapt to whatever it is being thrown at you to try to get the W. So I think it works.
How unique was it for you? I mean, with your debut fight, this was outdoors. I mean, you don't see that very often. Usually MMA fights are indoors in a closed in arena. So was that challenging at all?
Not really. Like I said, I'm a football guy. We play outside most of the time. So being outside wasn't that much of an issue for me at all. I think being inside will be a new experience. The way the sound kind of reverberates inside, at least playing football inside, was different, was something that took a little bit of time to learn how to overcome, and all that kind of stuff. But for me, being inside will be new. Obviously, my only experience was being outside, and I don't know. We'll see. I'll ask me on the 12th after I get into the cage again, and yeah, we'll see. But being outside wasn't an issue.
All right. Well, I know I can speak for everyone in the New England area. Can't wait for November 12th to get here. A great night of fights. I'd really like to go back a little bit and find out, how you fell in love with this sport and, what your goals are now moving forward.
I got into it really just started doing BJJ. I was looking for something that my kids and I could kind of be new at together. Um, and that was what we ended up deciding to try. And it took a little bit of time for me to get used to that, and having a gi on and learning, is a gi, do I like the gi, do I not like the gi, what, where are my strengths, where do I think I can perform well at, and how do my attributes that I have athletically kind of fit into either one of those categories. And then from there, Dustin Vinot, the striking coach at CMBJJ, kept kind of throwing pads at me and kind of trying to, hey, throw these on, throw these gloves on, throw these shins on. And remember just being like mesmerized watching the drilling, and really got kind of hooked there from like a, what are they doing, kind of like trying to figure it out from a cognitive standpoint. And then kind of just ordered my own gloves, ordered my own shins, and I've just been showing up to class and trying to get better every day. So that's kind of how it all started. And now my goals, that's a hard one. I don't want to shoot too high after just having one experience in the cage. And but I'm an athlete, I'm a competitor at heart. And it's been something that's been missing from my life for quite a while. And I like having that structure. I like having something to work constantly towards getting better at. And I don't know. I don't know how long I'll be doing it. I'll be doing it for the foreseeable future. I can't really see something putting me out of it. But I kind of will leave the goals and all that kind of stuff on a fight by fight basis. My goal right now is to solely focus on November 12th and going into that cage and getting another W, and kind of reconvene after that and talk with Jesse, talk with Dustin, talk with Travis, and kind of game plan for what the future could hold.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. Well, I'm curious, when you were younger and you were playing football and that was your primary focus, did you watch UFC events or mixed martial arts in general? I mean, I have to imagine you seem kind of like a guy that would get into all kinds of sports.
No, I actually I wasn't a huge MMA fan, to be completely honest with you. It's not something that I wasn't buying pay-per-views. I was, if it was on the TV and I'd see it, it'd kind of be like, holy shit, those guys are fucking crazy, you know. But no, it wasn't something that was even on my radar as accessible for me. I had no intro to where I would even go to embark on a journey like that. So it's all brand new. Been doing it for just about a year. I wouldn't even say over a year. So I took a couple months off in the wintertime, last winter. Schedule kind of got a little bit crazy with all the kids running around in different directions. But yeah.
And how many kids do you have?
6.
There's 6 total. I see there's 8 of you collectively as a group. So that's a pretty big family.
Yeah, it's a party wherever we go. We bring the party. There's a lot of different energy, a lot of 1-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, 7, 9, and now 12. So
wow,
we're going balls to the wall every day, which it kind of goes. It fits the lifestyle of fighting. Kind of fits the crazy hectic way that we have about us. This clan of 8 of us running around all over the place.
What is your full-time job? What do you do for work?
My brother and I own a cannabis company. I got into that 2017. We started. We both had our own full-time jobs back then before that kind of fueled that. It was our little side gig, and I was in medical sales. My brother was a manager for an inventory company, and it got to the point where we just It's like we either got to pick one or the other, and I'll pick weed. So we pick weed, and that's what we're doing.
Hey, I mean that business is booming right now, so good for you. I'm sure it must be going pretty darn well for you as far as people coming in through the doors, right?
Yeah, so we're putting food on the table. We're putting food on the table for sure. The things have slowed down a little bit with the volume of people that like myself who have tried to kind of stick their hand in there and see what they can do with it. But I think we made some decisions early on in the way that we where we placed our emphasis in cultivation and buying a facility and having the square footage to kind of keep up with things and kind of position ourselves in the market in a successful way. So we're plugging away. I wouldn't say we're blowing it out of the water, but our kids are eating.
Okay, very good. What's the name of your company?
We've got two of them. The Healing Company is one of them, and Chronic Care is the other.
Okay, all right. So, geez, and how does that? I mean, juggling everything. You said you kind of a crazy life with all the stuff you've got going on. How difficult is that to you do your job, go to training, be there for your kids? I have to imagine you don't have a lot of free time for yourself.
The gym is my free time. That's my me time. So I'm lucky to have a supportive wife who really picks up the slack, especially at this point in training camp, and with training in general. Very, very lucky there. She's the one that holds everything down. But it does get tough. I won't deny that. It gets hard to be sure that I'm holding up my end of the bargain with all of the obligations that I have and the responsibility. But that's kind of what the challenge is, what kind of keeps me going. And it's taught me a lot about reading my kids, listening to what their needs are, and learning when I need to take a day or put my needs to the side and do what they need. But I will say that training and going to the gym as a group provides some common structure for us to kind of be together and learning the things that we need to learn at the gym while still kind of spending our time together. So that it's been a focal point for all of our lives since we all started doing it. And I couldn't be happier about that.
That's great to hear. Well, before we dive into this upcoming fight and training camp at CMBJJ, I got to talk a little bit of football with you. I'm a big football fan myself. Now, do you still watch the game? Are you an NFL or a college guy? Tell me what your NFL or I guess your football love is like today.
Today, honestly, it's not probably what you would expect. I'm not a huge football fan anymore. I don't watch a lot of football. I have a very deep appreciation for the game. But it took me a long time to be able to watch a football game without getting like emotional about it, honestly. It was something that kind of ended on terms that I'm not satisfied with, left a bad taste in my mouth, personally. And it took me a little time to warm back up to the game. But I will say my kids, they like watching it. They don't play football right now. I won't be too opposed to them. I might try to talk them out of it once or twice, but if they came and said that they wanted to play and were like that, this is what I want to do, I'm not gonna say no. But like I said, I owe the game of football a lot because it taught me just the value of being persistent and what it really means to work hard at something for an extended period of time. But admittedly, my career didn't really end the way that I wanted it to be, and or that I wanted it to, I should say. And this is MMA is kind of been a way for me to rekindle that and kind of make peace with how that ended, honestly. And it's been good. It's been good. But.
Can you dive into that a little bit more and I guess explain? I'm sure it's hard, but are you able to explain as to maybe why that ended with a bad taste in your mouth?
There was just a lot of things going on in my life at that time. My wife, or then girlfriend, now wife, we got pregnant with our first. And that really made me kind of recalibrate mentally why I was doing what I was doing with football. And it brought a lot of things to the forefront that I hadn't really acknowledged as a kid coming up as to like why I liked playing football so much. And it had a lot to do with that relationship that I had with my father, who's stepfather, who left my life as a young kid, and it wasn't really something that I was aware of until being faced with the prospect of being a father myself, and all of that flood of personal history and pain coming up as a child really kind of came up all at once, and was kind of just a little too much for me to handle, honestly. And at that point in my life, with my history being what it was, if one thing had to go, it was going to be football, and it wasn't going to be being a dad. You know what I mean? That was the most important thing. And for some reason in my mind at that time in my life, I couldn't do both. I couldn't be a father and be the football player that I wanted to be, at least up here in between my own ears. But I don't think that was necessarily true. If I could go back and do it all over again, I would definitely make some different decisions. But hey, that's life, live and learn. And we're here now. We learn the lessons that we need to learn, and that's that.
Well, I appreciate you diving into that and explaining that. I mean, it seems like you just seem to be a very well thought out person, someone that has their priorities in line and just, like a real adult. I mean, you're still a young guy. You're 30, 32?
33 now. Yep. I turned
Okay.
33 the day after the first fight. So.
Okay. All right. Well, happy belated birthday. I'm glad things are going so well for you now, Jared. Let's dive right into this upcoming fight and, training camp at CMBJJ, one of the best gyms in the state. How has it been for you thus far? What's the weight at right now?
I'm honestly too close to weight. Learning the whole weight cut thing is brand new. I never worried about my weight with football or anything like that. But initially, holy shit, I got to get down to 205 pounds. How the hell is that going to happen? And now, just with tweaking the diet and being disciplined in that way, kind of teetering with is 205 going to be my weight class, or can I get down to 85 comfortably? Is going to be that's the question in my mind. But training camp's going well. Weight's not going to be an issue. I'm about 5 pounds out right now, which isn't going to be a problem. And it's been good. Kurt's been pushing me hard. Kurt's been pushing me hard for sure. I will say that.
Now you used to walk around north of 230, right?
Oh yeah. I was honestly low 240s, like 242 a lot of the time when I was playing ball.
Okay.
But having all that extra mass to carry around in a cage is not the most efficient.
Sure.
So my goal with this camp was to really push the whole fasting calorie deficit thing earlier on and kind of see where the chips fell with my weight about 2 weeks out from camp or from fight night, and we're there. Right where I kind of wanted to be, a little ahead of the game.
Very good. Who are your main sparring partners, the main guys that you're training with at the gym?
Mostly Curtis Willett. It's my biggest, most the biggest guy at the gym other than me. Who can throw. A lot of the guys at the gym at CMBJJ are a little on the smaller side, like 45ers, 55ers. And I think Dustin and Jesse don't want the bigger guys like me and him throwing everything we got at those guys because we can put them out by mistake. And it's refreshing for me, at least, to get in there with Kurt when I do spar hard and be able to really throw hard and not worry about whether or not there's going to be an accidental KO in training. It could happen, hasn't happened yet, but play with the sword and you might take somebody out.
Things happen. That's why they call it mixed martial arts. It's a very dangerous sport. I got to ask you about Curtis, man. You know, he just had that title fight. I mean, he's really been looking good as of late. I mean, Kyle Hill's the stud. Where's Curtis's head at right now? How's he doing? I have to imagine it's been a while. He's doing pretty good at this point.
He's doing great. He's doing great. He's game, always game to fight, never and not afraid to go out there and leave everything out there. And if he comes out like it did, like it happened in July, he doesn't sit around and sulk about it. He's always got his eyes on the next one, you know, and I admire that about him. I don't know how long I'll be able to keep the goose egg on the tail end of my record, but if that comes to an end, I'll definitely be looking to him for guidance on how to stay mentally in it, not get too down on myself, and to continue to show up to train hard like he does. He was in camp essentially for like a year and change straight. And that's tough. I'm learning that right now firsthand, how tough that is. And he's someone who's younger than me, but I really look up to his experience as a way to learn lessons without having to go through them myself.
Sure.
Which is kind of unique for me to take that from a younger guy. But I definitely look up to Kurt in preparation for fights. He's the one in the gym who's going hard, who cuts a lot of weight. So learning the weight cutting process from him and from Jesse and everybody else there who has more experience is interesting. That whole aspect of fighting is not something that I had even thought much about at all before getting involved in it myself. And I like to learn from experience where I can, but also take others' experience and try to internalize it and learn things that way too. So he's been great, but I think he's itching. He's one of those dudes who likes to fight.
I was going to say, I'm sure he's itching to get back in there. Well, we're all excited to see him back in the cage whenever that may be. How excited are you to be fighting in Portland at the Aura? Have you ever been to an NEF card there at the Aura before?
No, I haven't. This is going to be my first experience there. I've heard it's quite the venue, and I'm really excited to get in there and see what that's like. It's one of those things that from a fighter's experience or standpoint, there's been some some talk about the locker rooms aren't whatever, they're this, they're that, but I'm there to provide an experience for the people there who are willing to spend their hard-earned money on tickets and put on a show for them. I'm really excited. I'm super excited.
And as I mentioned earlier, your opponent, this is his debut fight, Region da Silva Jr. I just butchered that. Region da Silva Jr. What did you know anything about him? I mean, what kind of a game plan are you and your team formulating here?
I'm just gonna go out there and do what I do. I think we're a jiu-jitsu gym. He's got a little bit more experience than I do, I think, in jiu-jitsu. He's a blue belt. That's really all I know about him, is that he's got a blue belt around his waist in the gi. He's competed in jiu-jitsu in the past. I'm not sure how many competitions he's competed in, but more than me. So I know he doesn't have any MMA experience, but honestly, I've got 35 seconds of MMA experience myself. So it's not like I'm coming to the party with tons of experience and to rely on. I'm still kind of learning my own way, and I'm excited to get in there with that, knowing that that in my mind he's the more experienced fighter than I am, and I'm still kind of got that chip on my shoulder trying to prove myself. And kind of put the football comparisons to rest as quick as I can. I mean, it's like comparing apples to oranges. People keep talking about how good of a football player I used to be, which is great. But at the end of the day, we're not playing football. We're in a fist fight, and that doesn't really mean much to me from my perspective.
Well, one of the things that I was going to say that I feel like can transfer over into MMA is your explosiveness. You clearly still have that, and you showed that in the Seth Godfrey fight. Do you feel like if worse comes to worse, that you can always just rely on that to maybe get you out of any potential dangerous situations?
Um, I wouldn't say I'll rely on it because that kind of manifests, that's just who I am. I really try to think of that as a disadvantage, as weird as that may sound in training. I don't like to rely on my explosive athleticism, but kind of allow that to complement the skill sets that I'm trying to learn with the striking, the Muay Thai, and with the jujitsu. Not really rely on that athleticism, but utilize it through the techniques that we're learning in class to try to kind of develop my own style about me in there. So it's not something that I would say that I rely on at all, but I know that I've got it. It's almost like I forgot that I call myself an above average athlete coming up, and it's like I forgot that about me. You know, my kids don't give a shit if what kind of athlete I was in high school and college. You know what I mean? And I think I kind of lost sight of my athleticism and what it can do. But I'm starting to learn how to intertwine that into the striking and all that kind of stuff on the mat. So it's different. It's more of football was more explosive, and then you get a fully recompose yourself and rest in between plays and series and stuff, and combining that explosiveness and adding on the endurance to it is my kind of my goal athletically, to increase my endurance without losing that athleticism and that explosive power.
All right. Well, you don't really seem like the trash talking type, so I'm not going to ask you for your Mystic Mac Conor McGregor prediction, but just
Not
tell
yet.
me how you see 2023 going for you. As long as you're healthy, how many times are you looking to compete? Are you looking to stay as active as possible?
I absolutely, yeah. I want to keep fighting. I think that's the only way to really get better is to fight. You're not going to get better at fighting if you're not booking fights and stepping in the cage. And at this particular point in my life, this is what I want to focus my extra energy on. And I want to get as good as I possibly can at this. And the only way to do that is to continue to step in the cage and take fights. So that's my plan, is really to, like I said, talk with Jesse and Travis and Dustin, allow them to really dictate what it is, when I fight and who I fight, and just show up to training and show up to fight night and execute the training that they put forth in front of me to do. And that's really what 2023 is going to end up being, is hopefully fighting a lot, hopefully 4 or 5 fights, who knows?
Well, I can't wait for your next one again, November the 12th, NEF 50. Great talking to you for the first time, my man. Before we do sign off, I want to give you the floor. Plug your social media, and if you have any sponsors, anyone to thank, the floor is yours.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, everybody at CMBJJ, everybody on the fight team, and all the normal folks who aren't on the fight team that show up to class and give us extra work. I really appreciate all you guys: Travis, Jesse, Dustin, Kurt, Ian, Armand. And in terms of sponsorships, Restorations, Home Modeling, the Back Shack in Lewiston, Coots Brothers, Electrical Line, Float Harder Relaxation Center, and Emerson Chevy. Big shout out to all those folks and those businesses who have helped support me this far, and hopefully we'll continue to in the future.